Alright guys, the very last lesson of this chapter, we're going to be talking about words, equations, tables, and graphs. So we're probably going to work in some equations instead of just expressions. So in a game of What's My Rule, Kenna picked the card shown at the right. Make a table for 4 different domain values and write an algebraic expression for the rule. Then state the domain and range of the relation. So, what's my rule? Her rule is double a number, then add 3. Double a number, then add 3. So in order to do this, our step 1 would be to create a table showing the x-coordinates, the rule, and the y-coordinates, and then enter 4 domain values. Remember, our domain is our x. So if I just pick 4 domain values here, I'm going to say 2, 5, 10, and 17. Now, we know that before we write a rule, we have to define our variable, so let x be the number. Now double a number, anytime we double something, that means you're going to multiply by 2, then add 3, so plus 3, which would give us a rule of 2x plus 3. So if we substitute in the domain values that we just chose, so if my x is 2, then that would give us 2 times 2 plus 3, 2 times 5 plus 3, 2 times 10 plus 3, and 2 times 17 plus 3. Keep in mind, these could have been any numbers, these are just the 4 that I picked. Now solve those out. Well, 2 times 2 plus 3 gives us 4 plus 3, which is 7. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 3 is 13. 2 times 10 is 20, plus 3, so 23. And 2 times 17 would give us 34, plus 3, so 37. So if we go back, step 2, the rule double a number then add 3 translates to, we'll make sure we fill this in even though we already did it. Moved a little too fast there. This translates to 2x plus 3. We know that that's our rule. We already wrote that down. Then we use the rule in order to substitute and complete our chart so that we can find our domain, which in this case, because we picked those x values, the domain in our brackets again would be 2, 5, 10, and 17. So domain, I'm going to put a blue squiggle there so you can follow it. And the range, we're going to do a red squiggle. And I actually just realized I put the wrong bracket there. Do the best what you can with those brackets, guys. I know they're a little hard. So our range, our y values would be 7, 13, 23, and 37. So this time we had to find the rule first, but this was really a review of what we did in the last section, working with domain and range. So we want to remember that, again, we can have multiple representations. So words, equations, tables, and graphs can be used to represent relations. An equation is a mathematical sentence stating that 2 quantities are equal, meaning we must have an equal sign. Relations are often written as equations with 2 variables, one to represent domain values and one to represent range values. So, big old definition here. It's just like when we were working with expressions, except now there is an equal sign. Okay, so equations have equal signs. Again, stated 2 mathematical sentences are equal. So, multiple representations, like we said. In words, distance is equal to 60 miles per hour times the number of hours. So that's what you might see and then be asked to write the equation. So distance, say D, is equal to 60 miles per, remember that's times, hour, which I would say H, but I see they used a T there, so I'll go ahead and put T. So our equation, we pretty much just wrote it out for you. D equals 60T. Keep in mind, 60T means 60 times T. When a number is right in front of a variable like that, that means we're multiplying them. So we have the words, we have our actual equations. We could also make a table with examples. So we have our hour 1, 2, 3, and 4 hours. And our distance is filled in here because we know that our equation is d equals 60t. So if time is 1, then d equals 60 times 1. If we have 2 hours, then d equals 60 times 2. 3 hours would be d equals 60 times 3. And d equals 60 times 4. Simplify those out to get our distance of 60, 120, 180, and 240. And finally, we could take these points that we now have and create a graph, just plotting the points out like we did in previous lessons. Okay, so we're going to be working with equations a lot this year. This section was just introducing you to the concept of them. So from there, now that we have our multiple representations, I want you to try a problem. The cost for a class trip is $5 per person plus $100 for the bus. So this is like the first example that we did where you created a table, wrote out what the rule was, and then found your domain and range. I don't need you to find your domain and range at this time. So I'm telling you that there are 18, 22, 24, and 30 students. You need to come up with the rule. So I want you to actually write this table in your notes. So we have S, we have what's my rule, go back to here, $5 per student, plus $100 for the bus, write out what the rule is, substitute into your middle there, and then finally find out what the total costs were for those numbers of students. So go ahead and pause this until you're finished with this problem, and then we are done with this chapter.